tell us about the tiers, Jake, and then we each have our individual list of 4 to 5 players. I'm hoping because that's at least what I did.
Yeah, I think that's really why I wanted to do this, because I think when you do it with tiers, you can kind of categorize it yourself. You can explain the tiers in your own way. You can put 5 guys in tier 1 and 7 guys in tier 2 and 2 guys in tier 3. It really depends. That's why I'm kind of leaving this open-ended for you guys. I'll kind of explain my tiers. I did add a 4th. We can get to that later. There's just some names where I was like, they
I
got to
put
be
some in the
mentioned.
4th.
Okay. I didn't know if we added a 4th. Do we want to start off? Do you want me to rattle off all 4 of my
Let's
tiers,
do
or we
this.
just want to do tier 1?
Let's explain the tiers. You kind of go through the tiers and what you kind of mean by each of them, what they're called. And then I would let's go maybe give me a couple where you have them. We can discuss it and I can tell you who I have in those with them.
Yeah. So tier 1, I really categorized it as like your national championship quarterbacks, your Heisman contenders, and your first team all conference guys. Like these are going to be probably, like, you can even throw NFL draft picks in there, but there might be some for NFL draft picks on this list that might be in a tier 2 below. You know where I'm kind of heading with that. Tier 2, I put that in more as your second team, your third team all conference guys. These are guys that are going to be really good. They're going to be in your preview magazines. These are definitely names you heard of. They're like the max might be 10 wins with their teams. The floor might be 8 wins. And then your tier 3 for me, these are guys that either have a super high ceiling or have been around for a while and that have proved it, but they're just not your elite level quarterbacks. And then tier 4, these are guys that everybody knows about, but either we have to see it. Like this is their prove it year for those guys I have in that tier.
It's fair. I think 4 I had like the he's a starter. Let's get to the next year. Like your bridge quarterback is kind of where I have tier 4.
I do not have a tier 4, so I'll just try and fit you into 3. But I think mine will work for the 3. Mine are the exact same, Jake. That I just went off what we released on the graphic. The last one, average starters have upside, and then people will know about them in the country. They may not blow you off on paper, but they're gonna be in your mind at some point and be on your screen most Saturdays. So that was my 3rd tier. Who wants to lead us off? Jake, you want to go first in tier 3, or you want to go down to front?
Let's go tier 1, because I think tier 3, like the lower, would be more fun to talk about.
Give us a name.
Everybody knows about.
Share it.
Yeah, I'll name all 4 of my tier 1 guys. You tell me if you have them in a different tier or just don't have them at all. Tier 1, I have Carson Beck, Quinn Ewers, Dylan Gabriel, Jalen Milroe. Those are my 4. We already got a look from parts.
I do not have Jalen Milroe.
So I hesitated with Milroe, but I said
that might be clickbait.
I said national championship contender. He made a 4-team team playoff last year.
I'm not saying that's because of him, though.
Yeah, and
here's where I am. Like, I think he's a good quarterback. I think he could have a good year this year. Where I am right now, though, is saying he's all right. He's a good quarterback. Mm-hmm. He's above average. He's going to be just fine for your program. I personally have him in tier 3, though. Like,
okay,
like I had him too. Think about guys in the SEC this year that if they played really well, he's not going to be second or third team all ACC. He's not going to place above Ewers. If Jackson Arnold goes ballistic, he's not going to be above him. If Nico is really good, like there are names in the SEC where he will not.
He could fall down.
That's a good point. I'm not saying he's bad, but he could end up in a tier 1 or a tier 2 position for me, but that's not where I have him right now.
I agree with that. I think my reasoning behind it was we have a new system in place. Like a Kalen DeBoer offense is one that's going to spread it around. And we talked about his inconsistency in throwing the football last year. So is he a guy where we're going to get a different look at quarterback at Alabama? I don't know. So he's like between a tier 3 and a tier 1. I think JP made a great point. Like he could fall to the middle of this conference with the quarterback talent that's in it now.
Yeah, I think with Milroe, I'm trying to give him a chance. I think when we talk about Milroe, we always give him the floor. They're like, what's the low point? We never talk about
the ceiling, though. It hasn't happened.
It hasn't happened.
You can't throw him in tier 1 if you haven't seen his ceiling. Like that'd be
we got to pause. Did I cut you off the first time, JP?
No.
Or did your mic stop working? Oh, I thought I saw a reaction. Okay.
Oh, sure. Wait, you're asking him to prove it, but does he not have probably at least a top 3 play caller in college football right now.
Has he played a snap with that? Has he played with that head coach yet?
But that's what I'm saying. Nobody ever talks about the ceiling. Like nobody ever talks about what he could potentially be with.
I never have.
I get that, but I'm saying you can't put him in tier 1 when he hasn't taken the snap with the guy that you say is going to make him a better quarterback. That's why I don't have certain guys up there. Like I didn't put Nico Miliava up there because he hasn't taken like a full season of snaps. I need to see before I put
Milroe did. And he made a 14 playoff.
That's awesome. He was also rough for 60% of their games.
Okay. JP, I'm on tier 3, right?
Yes, I have him tier 3, but that's high level tier 3. I'm not saying he's bad quarterback. I'd like to say that. Like I will talk about him in August or October or September if he's really good, and I will put him in tier 2 or tier 1 and not say I'm wrong because that's just where he lands right now.
Hey, okay. That's why we're doing this. That's exactly why we're doing this. Does anybody else have a guy in tier 1?
I have 2.
I have 1. I'll give the 1 because I bet you we share it, JP. I have Jackson Dart.
Correct. I have him there as well.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm going to get some shit for this next one after this conversation we just had.
Okay. Give us your last one because I think Jackson Dart unanimous. Like I can't believe he wasn't on your list.
This definitely is about to contradict myself 100%. And I knew this as I was writing it down. I have Cam Ward in tier 1. Now I know what you're going to say. No, and I understand it because he is a game changer, and we've seen him do it and win games with less talented football teams. We've seen him be highest level of quarterback within the country. Now, why tier 1? Because he was rough. He had some rough days.
He had some rough moments. They didn't win 6 games last year. Let's not forget that.
Correct.
And they were like 5-0.
He had one of the least talented teams, I think, all around with what he did. Now, I did put him in tier 1, thinking what he could be at Miami. So again,
Justin would agree with you.
Yeah, by the end of the season. See, that's what I'm saying. But then I just talked to you about Milroe hasn't taken the snaps with the guy that can make him better.
It's the Cam Ward podcast. The Cam Ward show.
I am contradicting myself, but I think his talent, his ceiling is much higher than Milroe's. And you can clip this and put it wherever you want if you need to. But they're 2 talented guys, 2 very different quarterbacks, I think you could say. But that's just where I am with Cam Ward right now.
I think the college football world tier 1 would have a heyday with you in saying that he has a higher ceiling than Jalen Milroe. Because people think of the SEC as a much higher league than the Pac-12 and even the ACC. So I feel like that would be.
And I'm not doing it for clickbait reasons. I'm just saying, like,
I can see it.
Yeah.
This is a pro Cam Ward show. I can see it. I agree with you. I think I've seen more consistency out of him with less weapons. Like, imagine if Cam Ward had Jermaine Burton last year. That would be nice. I think he would have been a step up. So I agree, but that's a name I did not expect to hear. All right, my last one was Dart. Everything else matched with Jake.
Can I make Let's go to tier 2. I was just going to make a comment about Dart, like because you guys have him in tier 1 and I don't have. I would flip. I went back between him and Milroe, so I basically picked on who won more games last year. It's
would
probably
you take?
Not
right now. You gotta make a team.
Yeah, you're right. I'm picking Jackson Dart.
Okay, thank you.
But I also have just answered. I have to put like team success. At least for my arguments,
they were pretty damn good last year on offense. You could say one of the best in the country.
You can definitely say that because
they won 10 games last year, Jake. They won 10 games last year, Jake. They just couldn't play defense.
Jalen Milroe beat Georgia. Jackson Dart didn't.
Yeah, Jalen Milroe lost to Texas, but like people win games. All right, Jake. You can't say the whole team depends where you put these quarterbacks on the tier list.
Just say Ole Miss. It's a proven thing for me, man. Like they make the 12-team playoff. You have to at least do that, or it's a failure.
Yeah.
Like I'm not. You're not getting.
That might be a fun one. We'll put that on Twitter. Jackson Dart or Jalen Milroe. You got to start a team today. Who are you taking as your quarterback? I think Milroe is going to be the answer because college football fans are college football fans. But it's an argument worth hearing.
Yeah, that's going on Twitter. We're putting a poll out there.
Let's move on to tier 2, and I want somebody else to give their tier 2 because you have.
Let me go first because I think I did this much differently than you guys did, especially when it came to tier 3. But tier 2, there are some names on here that you probably don't expect to hear, which is kind of what I wanted, so we can get more names out there. But tier 2, I have Jalen Milroe. I have Jalen Daniels. I think this is a guy I'm much higher on than most. Noah Fafita.
Yep.
I have on tier 2. Cam Rising. I have on tier 2. And then my last one, which is going to be a red hot take because college football hates him, But I think Drew Aller is going to be a tier 2 quarterback this year.
I'm glad
and make
somebody
an
brought him.
on-conference game.
I'm glad somebody brought him up. He's not on my tier 2, but
I don't have
glad
him on my
somebody did.
list. I would put him in 3 though.
He's in my tier 4. This is why I want to give my tier 4 later.
See, you're the basic college football fan that I'll argue against. I think he's pretty good. I think he's much better than people give him credit for.
I don't think he's not good. I think all my tier 4 guys it's a prove it year for me. And I think in some of the biggest games last year, he just did not prove it at all. I thought that Michigan and Ohio State game, when they needed him the most, he couldn't make a throw to save his life. But I do think he is good enough. He can learn from that, and he can be a top 7 or 8 quarterback in the country next year, just given the circumstance.
That's fair.
I don't think so. I had Ward at 2, and I had Jackson Dart. Fafita was the only one I have in my tier 2 that's with you.
Okay.
Do you have one Shedeur Sanders in tier 2?
I do not.
I do.
I also Jalen Daniels. I don't even have him in any of these. I thought about putting him in tier 4. Thought about putting him in tier 4. I'm not putting a guy who basically missed the entire season.
You're a Kansas hater. Let's just put that on record here. He is a licensed, factual Kansas hater, folks.
I'm not a Kansas hater anymore. When I get to it, I'm gonna talk highly on Kansas this year when we get to preseason stuff.
Okay.
He didn't play last year.
It was damn good when he was.
Yep. Fact. And you gotta remember, we're basing off the same Jake. I'm asking Jalen Daniels to be a second or third team all conference guy, lurking around the top of his conference. I think he well fits in with that conversation in the Big 12.
Can I defend the Shedeur Sanders thing?
Well, leading into that, I want to give a shout out to whenever me and Justin do a podcast coming up here nearly soon, we're going to do tiers of all the Big 12 quarterbacks. So I'll get to all my explanations there. But yeah,
I was going to ask you. That's good to know.
Talk about Shedeur, JP.
Yeah. Tell me, Shedeur on tier 2, it's going to fire some people up.
We haven't even gotten to Rocco Beck yet.
Is Rocco Beck on your list?
I had to explain this to Justin last night. Like he's not making my list right now.
Okay.
And I'll explain that in the Big 12 stuff.
I have Shedeur at tier 2 because I do think if you put him behind a better offensive line and with people who maybe have situational awareness on how to handle football games and overtime and time clock management and things, I do think he's even better. He's one of the more accurate passers we've seen. He's a great deep ball thrower. He's made really good decisions. He's not turnover prone, even under the pressure that he's under. You could say that he did have some jumpiness in the pocket and sometimes, or maybe you shouldn't. It caused more sacks, but you can't tell me there's 5, 6, 7, 8 better passers in the country than him. That's why
I wouldn't disagree. I think he's got a tendency to hold on to the ball too long.
Yeah.
That I will say.
Everybody's got you got your gripes with everybody, but I think that one's easy to fix once you get a better offensive line in front of you. Not saying he's going to, but if he had the opportunity.
I think if we did these at the end of the year, I mean, if they go out and even get 8 wins this year, I think he would be a lot of tier 1 guys.
Yeah.
A lot of tier 1 caliber for a lot of people.
He would be very responsible for 7 of the 8 wins. I would be safe in saying that if they get to 8 wins, he'll probably be in New York. Honestly, with the way that offense operates,
probably if they're high flying enough, I could see it. Do you want me to give my tier 3? I have 8. I won't read them all off because I don't think you would have ranked some of these guys.
You guys,
let's be very clear. My tier 3 is much different. I think it's closer to Jake's, where they're average starters, upside potential, or you're going to know.
I have that. That's what I have. That's what my tier 3 is.
Here's who. Well, I haven't listed. There's one guy missing off my tier 2. So let me.
Riley Leonard. No, we didn't talk about him on mine. So Riley Leonard, I think fits as well.
I would agree.
Got to get a little better as a passer. I think he has the opportunity to do that in a Notre Dame system. But I do think at his peak, he is a very talented quarterback. So I put him tier 2. That's not based off what he could do at Notre Dame. That's based off what I have seen. So that's why he's tier 2. Now, I'm not saying he's like top tier 2, but I think he's better than a tier 3 quarterback after I name some of these.
But with the schedule with Notre Dame this year, he could also be
I can't wait to dive into that one.
He could be a tier 1 guy. He could be a Heisman candidate. Cam Ward, Noah Fafita, Jackson Dart, Riley Leonard. That's my tier 2 list.
We're going to talk a lot of Cam can Riley Leonard be better than Sam Hartman was last year at Notre Dame when that time comes up? Don't do it right now, but we'll do it later because that'll be a fun topic.
Notre Dame's
Tier
gonna be a
3.
good preview.
The 3 and 4 for me and you, JP, 3 for Parks. I think this is where the fun is going to happen.
I won't name all 8 of mine here, but I want to give you I think if I name 4 or 5, I put 8 here. It helped me kind of brainstorm quarterbacks and like who kind of fit into the same path here. So tier 3, I have Jalen Milroe. We talked about that. I had DJ Uiagalelei at tier 3. I also have a Brady Cook. And this one we brought up a little bit earlier, Rocco Beck. There's 4 of the 8 that I have written down here. If you have
Jordan, you're growing up.
I don't think Iowa State or people who look at Rocco Beck would be like, man, I just can't wait to get to the next quarterback. What a bridge guy. He's not. I don't see it that way. So that's why he's in tier 3 for me. Tier 4 would be, you're a bridge guy. I need to get the guy on campus here.
Okay, we did ours a little different then. So my tier 3, I have Shedeur, Cam Rising, Brady Cook, couple of different guys. Cam and Brady Cook are guys that aren't going to be pro guys, but they're older guys. I think they could make a huge leap at a playoff this year for their teams. Shedeur is a young, talented guy that I think can make a huge jump. Last guy in my tier 3, Garrett Nussmeier. I think this is the highest ceiling of all of the young quarterbacks making their debuts this year, even over Nico, in my personal opinion, just because with the offense that LSU is going to be providing for him in that offensive line. So those are my 4. I think he can throw for a jillion yards this year. And my tier 4, these are all guys that have been around the block. Everybody knows them. And for me, tier 4 is prove it. DJU, Cade Klubnik, Drew Aller, Will Howard. These are all playoff potential teams that you are under center for. It's got to be a prove it year. Some of you are graduating this year. Some of you will not see an opportunity to play again if you don't get your team to a playoff, probably more than likely. Or I don't know. It wouldn't shock me if Drew Aller looks to transfer, if people tell him to transfer like a Kyle McCord did, if Penn State doesn't make the playoff this year. So that's my tier 3 and tier 4.
Yeah. I'll give my 3 because I don't have a 4. And let's be very clear. Another clarification here. Tier 3 for me was an average starter. They have upside potential and people are going to know them. I'm going to start with USC and Miller Moss. This is a guy that's waited 2 years behind Caleb Williams. However, you got to put an asterisk next to it because Jaden Mavia could start at USC this year as well. But Miller Moss is a great quarterback. Like they saw a little bit of him in the bowl game. He played well. He was consistent, and it's a team in a new conference who's going to have a new look anyway. So Lincoln Riley came out and said he'll be day 1 starter, but that's a name you're going to know because they're going to win a few conference games in the Big Ten that are going to kind of rise up people and be like, all right, USC's here. They're still competitive because Lincoln Riley is who he is as a play caller. So I think Miller Moss will be a name that you will know by the end of 2024 consistently if he doesn't get taken over by Mavia, which is a possibility. My next one, Garrett Green at West Virginia. I think he's very hyped for a West Virginia quarterback going into this year. They love him, but I think this is going to be your average starter, man. He's got upside potential, but I don't know if West Virginia's got enough to put him in a tier 2 all conference category, maybe in the Big 12, but definitely not a tier 1. So I think I'm going to put him down as an average starter. Here's where we get in trouble. I'm putting Dylan Raiola on this list. I think this is a name you're going to know. It's going to be a starter.
Average starter? Like what is he?
He's going to be an average starter as a freshman. He has the max amount of ceiling at the moment going into the games. And people are going to know. I mean, people already know of him. Georgia fans hate him. Nebraska fans love him. I'm putting Dylan Raiola on tier 3 to start the year. I don't have a tier 4. Let me be very clear. So that is my bottom tier. But as bottom tier being an average starter, I think as a true freshman coming in, he still fits the narrative.
I tried to keep people who hadn't taken a lot of snaps or if any snaps off. So like I don't have Miller Moss on mine, but I understand why you have him there because it makes sense, right? You saw him take snaps. He was very good in that situation. There's one in tier 3 that I don't love and I kind of regret it. And I really wish he'd be in tier 2. And I really would like to put him there with your permission.
You can change it, man. It's our show. We can do whatever the hell we want.
That's one facts. KJ Jefferson.
See, I thought about, I'm throwing KJ maybe in tier 4. But with Arkansas and the debacle that they had last year, there are a lot of people like he's probably on a lot of people's list at like 6, 7, 8 in the Big 12. Not the country. The Big 12 is where he's kind of ranked right now.
I
Like a
think
lot of
that's
people
asinine.
are
Yeah, and
diminishing.
I was just about to ask you, JP. I had a post a couple of weeks ago. I believe Jake ranked the top 5 Big 12 quarterbacks. He put KJ at 5. You were not happy with that. So is tier 3 a little low for? I was thinking you
That's
were
why I
thinking.
regretted it. I regret
Okay.
it. I want him at 2. I want him at tier 2.
Okay.
He's an above average starter. He is a guy who could legitimately be first team, second team, all Big 12. He is going to play at one of the most fun offenses to watch in the country. Can the defense help him to get him above? I called him to win 8 games last year. They were a 30-point lead blown away from winning 8 games. So I think I have a pretty good beat on where this UCF team is. But I do regret him being in tier 3 for me. So I do apologize to the UCF fan base and KJ himself.
Yeah. Okay. At least you corrected it. I just want to make
Yeah.
sure you're on target here because you did give Jake hell for putting him at 5 in the top 5.
And he deserved it.
Also,
and he deserved it.
I don't even know.
I agree.
I want to go back and check out that 5. I don't even remember who I need something to go back to.
Can I give you my 4? I did 4 different than you, Jake. You did it as prove it. I did it as can't wait to turn the page. I want the next guy in. Ready?
Grayson McCall.
He would fit. No, wait, whoa. I don't. That's a whole conversation. I got Gary Bohannon, Peyton Thorne.
Yep.
Alec Bowman.
Alan Bowman.
Yep. Alan Bowman. Sorry.
Gary Bohannon is a perfect one. I cannot believe he's still playing football.
Luke Altmaier at Illinois as well.
Luke Altmaier is a great one.
Those are guys I just think we're at a bridge spot. They're not bad quarterbacks. They're not going to, I mean, they might lose games for us, but hey, you're Jag. Just
here you go.
Yeah,
here you go.
What about
your top 5 Big 12 quarterbacks?
Yeah, let's read those.
1, you put Noah Fafita.
Okay.
2, you put Shadur.
Fine.
No gripes.
3, you have Jalen Daniels.
Yeah.
4,
what are we doing here?
That's tough for this list. That's tough for this list. All right, keep going.
4, you have Cam Rising, and 5, you have KJ.
I'm gonna have to change that list before my next cycle on podcast.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Hey, he asked. I'm pretty sure he asked me to do that on a hungover Sunday morning at like 8 a.m. My mind's not.
You're telling me
hungover?
It changes your ball knowledge. It changes your knowledge of the game.
I need to think a little.
You better
more
be
clearly.
sober every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. so we can get some real takes out of you watching these games.
You texted me. What did you text us on? Oh, who are my dark horse teams Sunday morning? And I'm like, holy shit, man! I couldn't even.
Content never sleeps, Jake. Content doesn't get hungover.
I couldn't think of all 16 teams in the Big 12 this year at 8 a.m. on Sunday morning. But going back, JP, one guy you might want to put on. Would he classify under tier 4? One named Graham Mertz.
I had Graham Mertz in tier 3. Funny you ask. I thought he proved his worth last year.
Yeah, I thought he was solid. That's why I was.
So I had him tier 3. Yeah, I had him actually written down, but I didn't think he'd come up, so I had him in tier 3. I also had Will Rogers in tier 3.
Okay.
We didn't talk about that one, and then I think that's the only one we didn't talk about. Like, we didn't give Brady Cook a ton of airtime, but I think we all kind of understand and see that in the right spot. So,
you want me to give you maybe a hot take you can carry into your show, Jake? Is I would put Rocco Becht in tier 3 as well. I think he needs to prove it a little bit more. I think he went into last year with no expectations, obviously overperformed for what people thought of him, but I think he's got to prove it a little bit more again. I think
I would agree.
Second year under his belt.
I would agree. I don't even know if I'm still putting him in my top 5 of Big 12 quarterbacks right now. I would maybe like Avery Johnson. We're still leaving out of there. Like you mentioned Garrett Green. I think he's better than Garrett Green, but he's
where would you
make
put,
I would agree. Juan Finn's going to be in the conference this year. Grayson McCall.
Where would you put him?
On my own
on this tier 1 through 4.
Ooh.
Yep. See, it's different
hard.
scenario. It's a different scenario because he was so successful at the power or the group of 5 level. Like he's not like that bridge guy, like you said. Like we can't wait to get rid of this kid. But then again, he also is because he's kind of putting a Band-Aid on the situation at quarterback after Morris left at NC State. So he's a little bit of both, but he also hasn't been around to where the fan base is already sick of him. He hasn't played a single down for him. Maybe they will. Maybe it's a Brendan Armstrong situation. They get sick of him after 4 games. His game just doesn't translate in the ACC. Then he could slide into tier 4. But he could also be tier 3. He could be really good for NC State this year and be exactly what they needed.